Hello and good evening and welcome to the Embrace the Darkness podcast. I am here on Bignor Hill, which is one of our dark sky discovery sites, with the lovely Vicki Wells. Hello, Vicki.
Hello, Elinor.
Vicki is a member of the National Park Authority, and we'll maybe just say a little bit about what that is in a minute. But Vicki also used to be a producer on BBC Sky at Night, and basically we are out here under some gloriously clear skies. The sun is just setting, and we're hoping to have a jolly good geek out about astronomy and stargazing and anything else that takes our fancy under the dark skies.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so Vicki, member of the National Park Authority. So yeah, what can you tell us about that?
Well,
Just to start with.
having grown up on the fringes of the National Park in a place called Lancing on the south coast of England, it's an absolute privilege now and an honour and a privilege to be part of the National Park Authority. I'm one of 14 elected members from the local authorities. Because the park is so huge, it spans all of those authorities, and I'm lucky enough to sit on the authorities board with the other members.
Brilliant. And basically the members are sort of the board of the National Park Authority and just kind of help to oversee the work that we do as a local government authority. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So it's brilliant to be at the table with the other members to go through really important things like the partnership management plan that we're currently working on, the local plan, all those really important things that make sure that the national park retains its fabulousness in alignment with humans as we move forward, building places and living and working in the space.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Vicki. So maybe the first place I like to start is asking, is there a particular memory that you have of being out in the darkness under dark skies that you would like to share with us?
I've got so many.
Well, I'm sure we'll get some more.
This was really fun. This was so much fun thinking back on this one. And one of the most significant memories for me, as we're walking up this flinty trail to get to the top of Bignor Hill, is spending time with my dad, like most children do. And I was 10 years old, and it was 1986. And in our back garden, Dad and I stood and we looked up and we saw Halley's Comet, which was, for me, pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Because looking up into the sky then, it was the equivalent now, from my memory, and I don't know if it's right or not, but of seeing the condensation trails of a jumbo going over, you know, what, 30,000 feet in the air, and just thinking, oh my goodness, that's a comet, and I can see it with my bare naked eyeballs, so it must be huge. And then my dad, who absolutely loved astronomy, was a member of the local astronomical group. So when I was older, I went and joined him doing that. Just telling me all about comets, how they were formed, where they lived, how they came visiting every now and again. And so back in '96, the thought that this comet would only revisit us 76 years later was a real special bonding moment. So one I will cherish, definitely, yeah.
So yeah, something about that celestial object and also being with your father, and the memories from
Dad
your
in
childhood.
space and being outside, yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
Although he did also really enjoy, in his excitement, telling me all about the life cycle of stars, which, as a child before bedtime, being told the fate of our sun and what would happen to planet Earth as a consequence was pretty terrifying. So thanks, Dad. Yeah.
Don't worry, it won't happen for another 5 billion years.
Exactly. We're only halfway there. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, those moments in childhood are so special, aren't they? And getting out under the clear skies.
It was also special to me because where we grew up, my parents had a really big garden, which, how lucky was I as a kid? We never went on holiday. I'm one of 4 kids. We didn't have exotic foreign holidays. So I spent a lot of time in the garden. And I also spent a lot of time sitting up at night when really I ought to have been asleep. And on one occasion, I do remember looking out and just looking at the shadows cast by the moon, by the tree, by the trees on the ground, and seeing a fireball. I saw a green fireball, and I was so excited because everyone was silent. Everyone was in bed asleep. I ought to have been asleep too. I wasn't. I was just, looking out, and that for me as well was a really precious moment. I was on my own. I couldn't say, Dad, look what I've seen, because I was supposed to be asleep. But that was really a formative memory for me as well, in terms of things coming from outside and impacting and interacting with the Earth. So that really, I've had a love of astronomy since each and all of those.
Yeah, green fireball, fantastic. They're really cool when you see it. Well, if you are lucky
it was
enough to see
amazing.
them.
I've never seen anything like it, and it was the most beautiful thing I think I've seen, astronomy wise. Very good, very cool.
Fantastic, thank you. So, you had the opportunity to kind of get more involved in astronomy and science communication.
Yep.
As you became a producer on BBC Sky at Night. So tell us a bit about that. How did you get involved in that?
It was again, a massive privilege, and loads of fun. My background actually I ended up studying geology, and obviously love a rock, also love a space rock as a direct consequence of that. But a lot of my peers went on to, they went into the oil industry and things like that, which didn't sit with me at all. So I sort of diversified and got into science communication. So I studied science communication, and was lucky enough to end up as a science producer at the BBC. So that involved producing the space website as it was. It was a fledgling years, about 25 years ago now, and also assisting with the production of the Sky at Night, with a fantastic producer called Ian Russell, and it was just a real honour and a privilege to work on that flagship. And it's one of still is the longest running BBC television programme. Long may it continue.
That's amazing. So what sort of things did you do there? What sort of things did you get up to?
I was looking back. I've got a script from the 2nd of March. When was it? 2002.
Oh, okay.
23 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And the programme was called Apollo Programme, or 12 Men on the Moon. And it was dedicated to dispelling the lunar landing hoaxes.
Yeah.
So I stayed up until 3 a.m. Diligently putting together this airfix kit of the Eagle lander and painting up the little astronauts so that we could use them in the show to help dispel these ridiculous hoaxes. So the studio lighting was used, to focus in on this lovely airfix kit. I took cat litter in, which made a superb proxy for lunar regolith. And Patrick's guest was a chap called, what was his name? Douglas Arnold. But they systematically took apart a lot of these ridiculous myths that the guys never set foot on the planet. So from shadows cast to the fact that the flag was too rigid, perspective issues, backdrops, all of that. So that was a really good. That's a good programme that I distinctly remember. That was loads of fun, partly because I was so tired, I think, as well, having made the props.
Sounds amazing.
No budget. Yeah.
So just in case people don't know, regolith is.
Yeah, it's the lunar soil basically, and it's unique to the moon. It gets what do we say? Just the radiation that hits it, because the moon has got no atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
so it's affected by that. It's I think there's I can't remember, is it oxygen rich or oxygen poor?
Yeah.
It's unique, obviously,
Yes,
to the moon.
yes, yeah.
Because the moon is a unique environment. There's no atmosphere. It's not. And that's another part of the lunar hoax, is actually that the rock, didn't come from the moon. Well, yes, it did actually, because it's unique geological composition.
So yeah, something about the geology of it that makes it. It's like a fingerprint of it.
It's quite sticky stuff as well, if I
Okay,
recall. I
yeah.
think it's quite sticky, and it sort of impedes, equipment quite a lot.
So something they'll be thinking about when they think about going back to the moon.
Yeah, it won't be long, will it? It
no.
won't be long.
Exciting. And actually, if we turn around, there she is. Yeah, we've got a nice view of the crescent moon here.
Yep. We got Jupiter to the left of it.
Yep.
We got Venus to the right of it.
Here I am.
Stuck in the middle. It's great. Can we see Mars? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
there's
just
Mars.
about see Mars. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's missing? I know this is the parade of planets, but between Mars and Jupiter is the asteroid belt, which is so cool as well to even consider that it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, what I love about Jupiter is the fact, yes, it's a massive gas giant, but it's actually does a really good job of protecting our little ball in space from little rogue asteroids whizzing around. It really...
Oh, bit of wind.
Yeah, Jupiter really keeps law and order up there in terms of just its gravity, like pulling in or pulling off course, I suppose, asteroids, comets, anything like that. So it does a great job helping us out from those potentially hazardous near-Earth objects. But do you remember Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 hitting
Yes,
it?
yeah. I had someone who was involved at NASA who was on the end of the download, sending out the pictures.
And that was amazing, and everyone was so excited.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that the other day, because that was only the first time, and it was a comet, had been detected and then seen, recorded, measured the heck out of for the first time, impacting a planet, which I just can't imagine that. And to see Carolyn and Eugene Shoemaker, who were the discoverers of the comet with David Levy as well, to find it in the first instance and then realise, in a year's time it's going to impact Jupiter, for the whole scientific community pretty much, and the fabulous Hubble telescope focus on it and see that massive event, and to really consider what it means for us as a little planet. It's hazardous out there.
Yeah, and kind of what happens when a comet does hit a planet. I mean, obviously Jupiter's very different.
Yeah.
So it also told us something about Jupiter as well, I think, about as it went in, the different gases in the Jupiter's atmosphere.
Yeah, it ejected a lot. It disrupted the atmosphere quite a lot, didn't it? So, yeah. And planetary defence has come on leaps and bounds since then.
Yes.
Thankfully.
Yes. Yeah.
And Chelyabinsk, we're off subject in terms of our planets that we're seeing, but, again, came zooming in, what was that, 2013? Bolide, blew up in the atmosphere, stony meteorite, the commonest sort. And thankfully it was only 20 metres. It wasn't any bigger, but it still did a chunk of damage. It still hospitalised 1,500 people. So looking up at those two planets now, knowing that conveyor belt of, protoplanet debris is still just doing its own thing, is that's pretty special to see those two like that. So
Mars, it definitely has kind of a reddish tinge to it, doesn't it? And
iron rich.
Yep.
Red planet.
Yeah, it's great. Again, if you get a nice telescope, even you can sometimes see the ice caps, which is always very exciting.
I do have fond memories of that as well, with Dad looking through the telescope and just going, oh my gosh. And they're seasonal as well, aren't they?
Yes.
Like they are on Earth. Well, yeah.
Ish.
Ish. So, and of course Phobos and Deimos.
Yes.
Are
they moons? Are they captured asteroids? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
But they've got good names, so...
Yes, yeah. So Phobos and Deimos are, the two so-called moons of Mars. But they're not... spherical, like we would consider other moons.
Well,
they're
like
lumpy,
our
aren't they?
splendid moon,
Yes.
which I think is our moon the largest of a rocky planet? I think it probably
It's the largest rocky planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think Ganymede and Callisto are bigger.
Yeah, well, they would be, wouldn't they?
But
show offs.
it's Jupiter again.
Not as
isn't it?
volcanic as Io. Oh, don't worry, moon.
But again, I think the moon, has played quite a bit in terms of keeping us safe from impacts
Yes.
by comets and asteroids.
Yeah.
Just by being there.
Right. And also, again, for the scientists and researchers, involved in planetary defence again, like actually seeing impactors hit the moon, actually able to observe, measure craters, because it doesn't have an atmosphere to protect it like we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, thankfully, we have this amazing, bouncy, squashy thing that does a good job of burning up any kind of stony, rocky, irony invaders that decide to come our way at speed. But the moon, I mean, the whole geologic history, it wears it on its sleeve. It's not being eroded away by weather. It's not being, chewed up through natural erosion processes or anything like plate tectonics. It's just a thing that sits there bearing its scars, which is great for us as humans to, really have a look and understand what particular impactors will do, the mess they will make, and try and understand more about them from the craters that that they make.
Yes. I remember having to do crater counts as part of my training. Well,
How many did you count?
oh gosh.
Did you go back and go, hang on a minute, last night there were 3. I'm pretty sure there's 15 now. What happened?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, again, it's fascinating how scientists use that to measure age of surfaces and all that kind of stuff. There's it's amazing what we do know, and it's amazing what we don't know.
Oh my gosh, so much that we don't know. And again, at the moon, it's such a romantic, beautiful thing, isn't it? And obviously we as human species have looked up at it, since our 4 million years of evolution or whatever. But the role it plays in sort of modern science fiction, and even, I don't know, I really like, I mean, part of the attraction to space science as well is science fiction, isn't it? For everyone loves it, but for me it's H.G. Wells, it's Jules Verne, it's that kind of golden age of discovery and maximum ponderment. Like, what is living on there? There's definitely things living on there. And Schiaparelli,
yes,
who for 1870s was looking back over at Mars, going, pretty sure I can see some
canals
lines on there.
Canali.
They're definitely canals. Yeah, it's definitely intelligent life there, and they've made canals. So I really do love looking back and reading the kind of the thought process and that people are thinking in terms of the wonderment. What is out there? And will it come? Will it come and invade? And what does that look like? And so we have War of the Worlds and things like that, which is just so much fun. And of course Star Trek from the 1960s with William Shatner.
Yeah, the original series.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So what other memories and things did you do with the sky at night?
I'll tell you another highlight. I've got another one that I wrote that I remembered. Meeting astronaut Jeff Hoffman. That was really epic for me, because Jeff Hoffman went up on the shuttle Endeavour in the early 90s. Jeff was one of the astronauts that helped fix the Hubble telescope.
Oh, cool.
So Hubble goes up, it's new and shiny. Oh, wait a minute, hang on a minute, there's something not right with that lens. And the curvature of the lens, it had been polished wrong, basically. And so it wasn't viewing right.
Should have gone to Specsavers.
Should have gone to massive Specsavers. But effectively, that's how they fixed it. I mean, and actually, one really interesting fact about the Hubble telescope is that it was designed to be fixed and maintained in space. How mad is that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But that's good, isn't it? In terms of sustainability, it's great. So yeah, so meeting Jeff was really fabulous, because just looking at the catalogue of images that Hubble has returned and is still returning. You know, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I think there were 5 spacewalks to try and fix that mirror, and they did, and I'm hugely grateful that they did, and enormously pleased also to have met him, the guy that did that.
Yeah.
Imagine.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So Hubble. Any favourite images from Hubble?
Oh, so many favourite images from Hubble. It's got to be galaxy images, hasn't it? I couldn't choose. I couldn't choose. But no, now you've done it. What's your favourite?
My favourite is probably the deep field images.
Right, and what, the curvature of the stars?
Well, no, just the fact when you
the
look,
curvature of the light. Sorry,
you
not
look
the stars.
at the image, and it, you know, they pointed it somewhere. It was dark. They didn't think they could see anything. Exposed it for 9 days or something.
That'll do it.
Yeah, and you know, nearly every single point of light in that image, and there are a lot, was a galaxy.
The deep field.
Yes,
I know exactly the one you're talking about.
And they've redone it over the years many times.
Yes. Yeah, amazing.
And it just the scale of the universe,
and the information about black holes as well, that it's been able to return because of the curvature of the light.
Yes,
you know, absolutely demonstrated.
Einstein's
theoretical physics.
Yeah,
So it's like,
okay, Einstein lenses and all that kind of, where they the light gets split gravitationally by heavy objects.
around the gravity, like
the gravity well
tugging. It's magic in space.
Yes,
yeah. The only way you can see it, because it's dark, right? The only way you can see it is if light bends. Why is light bending? It's like the tablecloth analogy, isn't it? You put the heavy ball on the tablecloth and let it sink down, and then the tablecloth will, you know.
And that's what a gravity well is. Yeah. And then you have to go round it.
Better, best too.
Yes. Well, yes. Don't fall down the gravity well. Yeah. Especially if it's a black hole.
No.
You get. I think you get spaghettified. That's the technical term.
Very unpleasant. Yeah. It stays in your hair for weeks. I won't do. Can we see? I tell you what. So, I can see Castor and Pollux now coming out next to Mars.
Yep.
It's still a bit glowy and still a bit too much light in the sky from the sun. But as the stars start coming up, I'd really like to do some star hopping.
Yeah.
Should we see?
I think
what we
we were looking at Venus earlier, weren't we?
Yep.
And that had that you could see that it was a crescent shape.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people are very surprised by that, because obviously with the naked eye and when it gets darker, it just looks like a point of light. But actually, Venus goes through phases like the moon. And it's always just really exciting.
It's extraordinary, isn't it, to see. Yeah, absolutely right.
I think I only saw it for the first time through I knew about it, but I think it was the beginning of February this year was my first time seeing it, and it was just.
And I've never
it's
seen
really
it.
there.
And even though I've got my binoculars and they're wobbling because I'm not perfectly still, you can make it out, which is awesome, isn't it? But I think the fact that Venus is so close to the sun.
Yes.
That alone for me is just like mind-blowing in terms of the temperature and the variation. It's also one of the coldest planets, isn't it? The temperature extremes.
Yes.
Oh, Mercury, beg your pardon.
Yep. But Venus is hotter than Mercury.
Venus is hotter
right.
than Mercury, yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Mercury might just be visible. Let's just see. Where's Venus? There's Venus.
The shiny thing.
The shiny thing. The bright shiny object.
The bright shiny thing.
Yes.
And are we likely to see Uranus as well at all?
We might see Uranus tonight.
Uh-huh.
I have seen it through my binoculars.
Brilliant.
In the past few evenings. So.
Have you got Mercury?
No.
Elusive.
It's very.
Well,
because it's so close to the sun, it
yeah.
can be quite hard to see. Especially you get a bit of cloud on the horizon,
and so, yeah. What are we looking at just below Mercury? And don't see a plane. It's 6 o'clock. Oh, we need the trusted planisphere.
Okay. yes. So you like to go old school, don't you? You get... which is great. You know, it means that you can use...
Old school planisphere.
So
red bicycle light for the eyes. And the thing I love about the planisphere is it's a flat round contraption, and basically you can twist and turn one viewing window above to any time or date and point it at the corresponding horizon, and through the viewing window of the top sheet, if you like, are displayed all the constellations that you will see. And I think it's a really nice basic piece of kit.
It's a great way to get to know the constellations.
Oh, it's
and
really great,
how they move.
Yeah, over
through the
time.
year.
100%. And the relationship they have to each other, which for me, I mean, you know, it's Greek mythology, isn't it, written out, and other mythologies, obviously. But I just, going back to like the 80s and 81 and Clash of the Titans, which is just epically good fun Christmas viewing, isn't it, for any child? But really, you know, you're able to understand the stories of Queen Cassiopeia, you know, King Cetus and Andromeda, Perseus, and of course the winged horse hero Pegasus. And then there they are, they're all kind of together in the same patch. So for me, you know, those stories and understanding a bit more about those stories and the legends behind them really helps me to find, once I found one, that helps me get my eye in and I can try and find the others.
So using those Greek myths to
find
your way around the sky, and somehow it's not just about finding your way around the sky, it's also, I don't know, it brings them closer in a way, doesn't it? And the narrative, connecting.
They're not just random. I mean, they are so random. That's the beauty of it. They are all stars at various distances away, and it's only because of our perspective on this planet at this time that, you know, we can see them kind of configured like that. So the fact that, you know, civilizations over time have interpreted them in such a way at a time when there was no light pollution, and I don't know if you've ever spent any time, you know, super dark skies, you know, really remote places on the planet, but where the sky is peppered with stars and it's almost impossible to even make out the constellations like we know them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that one's got 5 dots in it, or, you know, the Pleiades has got 6 or 7 stars in it, you know. No, actually there are absolutely loads more. The fact that way back then whole stories and narratives were, you know, configured around them to explain why they were there. I love that. Yeah.
It's got a bit darker now. We've walked down the hill because it was getting a bit windy and cold up there, and we have just spotted below Venus a really lovely sight of
Beautiful Mercury.
Yeah. So that
And completely at right angles as well, compared to the arc sweep of the others. Of course they're not in a straight line, but straight down is just really gorgeous, isn't it? And again, Venus, bright as a button, shining away, and Mercury just holding its own in a very dignified, and, you know, it's small and mighty, but so clearly a little planet. It's just really lovely to see them. Those are the 2 closest things to the sun.
Yeah.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Earth, and then looking back up again, Mars is looking even redder now that the sun has finally properly set. Jupiter shining away brightly. Pleiades, I can see really clearly the Pleiades, which is wonderful because, you know, from my garden in Worthing, it's just a bit of a fuzz. The light pollution is so bad, and it's just so wonderful here to actually see, you know, the constellation. Even though the moon is a bit glowy, it's impeding a bit, but you can clearly make out the shape of that constellation, which is fab. Really beautiful. And of course, just diagonally opposite Orion that we can see. And of course, the mythology goes that the 7 sisters thrown up into the air to save them from Orion, who was hunting them. So bad luck, ladies. Ever the way.
And we were talking about, so I think this podcast will go out beforehand. We were talking about their, speaking of mythology and things happening in the sky, there's a partial solar eclipse visible from the UK on Saturday the 29th of March. And I think it reaches its maximum extent, which is not huge, but you should be able to see a chunk taken out of it around 11 a.m.
Brilliant.
But as with anything, don't look directly at it.
The special viewing glasses, or better still, find yourself someone with a solar scope and look at it. I mean, you'll be in for a treat as ever looking at the sun. But, you know, you don't mess with your retinas. No, do it properly.
Yes.
Do it properly and you won't be disappointed at all. And what a treat year last year was.
Yes.
2024.
Yes.
The sun's at its peak of its 11-year solar cycle. Loads of activity. And, of course, we were gifted with 2 in the south of England displays of the aurora. And for me, going back to memories, it was wonderful to be in the garden with my daughters, and they're old grown-ups now, but looking at the aurora and just being mesmerised by the changing colours and just knowing that is just epic chemistry happening high up in our atmosphere as the Earth's magnetosphere does its best to hold off this bombardment of solar energy that's been belched out and lobbed 93 million miles in our direction. Yeah, it's been it was a gem of a year last year, wasn't it, for astronomical observing?
It really was. Yeah, I really enjoyed a bit of comet watching last year. And I mean, you know, who knows? They do say that event was a bit of a once in a lifetime, but I think the sun's still belching bits out. So,
right, yeah. And we got loads more probes and space missions to look forward to as well next year.
Yeah.
We're going to have a first look at the solar poles as well. That'll be amazing. We've got the Hera mission, of course, which is the second part of the NASA ESA co-production to test a kinetic impactor in space. Mm-hmm. Let's see if we can knock that. It's a little teeny moon called Didymos, and it was a binary asteroid, and so it was the size of a vending machine. I mean, how insane is that?
To get something.
A vending machine fired into space. That was the DART impactor. That was the first part. Just to give it a, bash on the chin, see what happens next. Can we knock it off course by even, a tiny amount? Will that over time deflect anything potentially in the future? Is this technology possible to help prevent a future impact with one of these objects that comes in? And so, of course, Hera now is on its way there again, vending machine size, and the equivalent of the crime scene investigation to really get some good understanding of what exactly happened, how much did that impact affect, that pile of rocks in the sky. And is it a technology that will help humanity in the future to defend ourselves from asteroid impacts?
So no Bruce Willis, unfortunately.
No.
Oh, yeah, just someone leaving the car park there with a very noisy car. So so the constellations are really coming out now, aren't they?
They are popping. What I love best is constellation hopping. I'm not very good with my constellations. I can hold my own, I think. Starting off as ever with...
There's a satellite.
Oh.
Quite a slow moving
teeny one.
Yeah.
That's 2. There's 3.
Oh.
There's 4. Oh, you know what that is?
That's Starlink then, isn't it?
No. Well, that's depressing. I mean, technology's a thing. As a species, technology's important. But we're in the middle of a dark sky reserve. You and I are looking at constellations, enjoying the history and the science and the physics and the chemistry of what we're looking at. And we've got a a procession of tiny, they are small, I'll give you that, they are small, spots of light, just, you know, like a conveyor belt just going through it all. And it worries me, the integrity of dark skies with the addition of so much being launched into space like that. And it does impact observations, you know, really necessary observations.
Yes, it brings up a lot of questions, doesn't it?
It does. Ethical questions, moral questions, lots of questions. Yeah. So I'm not sure how I feel about that interloping bunch of technology marching through our beautiful vista. You know, we can clearly see Ursa Major there, the Great Bear.
Yeah, and you can really see her with her head and her little paws.
Yeah.
I always like seeing all that. And then below her, the lion of Leo.
Now,
so we've
where
got the lion and the bear. So you've got this backwards kind of question mark.
Right.
And the bottom, and then you've got a triangle that's the haunch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Regulus as the
and
a shooting
Yay,
star.
high five that.
Yeah,
Oh,
all right.
That, my friend, is a good sign.
Quick, make a wish.
I see your Starlink and I raise you, Mother Nature. Or maybe that was one of them burning up the others, who knows. Yeah, that was great. That's great.
Yeah. And then, so coming around, so we're getting a much better view of Orion here now, aren't we?
Now, and again, Betelgeuse, the shoulder, that star, the top. Oh, hang on a minute. Top left as I'm looking.
Yeah.
Red again. The belt clearly. There's a nebula in there somewhere. Although we're in a dark sky reserve, I can't see any fuzzy with my eyes, my eyeballs. So let's have a little look through the binoculars and see if we can see anything. Oh, I can! So if you got the belt in the middle, those three diagonal stars, and you're going, again, perpendicular down from that. And with the binoculars, I can clearly see clusters of stars, and also, towards the bottom there, a nice fuzzy patch. And something passing through again. Is that... must be a satellite, another satellite passing through. For goodness sake.
So that's the Orion Nebula.
Orion Nebula, star birthing region. Exciting, isn't it? What will that look like in billions of years time? Who knows?
And then we come round, and you mentioned the Pleiades earlier, which is sort of
there they are,
just above the moon.
Yep. And I can see Cassiopeia. Now I know I've jumped a bunch, so I'm just trying to get my bearings. Cassiopeia, we've got the kind of
on its side W, isn't it?
On its side W, yeah. So that's Queen Cassiopeia. Bragged a little bit about her looks, like, if I recall. Goddesses weren't too happy about that. I'm sure that had something to do with the fact that she's now in the sky forever. And so near her, somewhere, will be Andromeda. Yeah,
it's about halfway between. I think that's the square of Pegasus is just kind of above
Winged
Venus
Hero Horse.
There. Yeah, so kind of between the longer W leg.
Yep.
And the square of Pegasus, about halfway between, I think, is usually where you find the Andromeda Galaxy.
Now, M31, Andromeda Galaxy. Now, that is the closest galaxy to Earth, if I recall.
Yeah, sort of full-formed galaxy. I guess the Magellanic Clouds are closer, but they're almost satellite galaxies of Milky Way.
And remind me, is Andromeda a spiral galaxy as well?
She is, yes. She's slightly bigger than the Milky Way.
And now I can absolutely see something, and again, I will describe, and it's not my binoculars, I swear. There is a fuzzy.
Yeah.
I can see a fuzzy patch through my binoculars.
Fuzzy smear.
Now, you can see Andromeda with the naked eye, can't you, again?
Yes. Oh no, I think the moon might be a bit bright tonight.
The moon is too bright tonight, so we are going to have to come back, aren't we?
Yeah. Darn it.
Rats.
Such a shame.
Dark Sky Reserve, you say. Andromeda Galaxy with your naked eyes, you say. Yeah.
So yeah, I think when you can see it with the naked eye, it's the furthest naked eye object that you can see.
That's mind-blowing,
and
isn't
it's
it?
something like 2.5 million light years.
And isn't it formed of something absolutely bonkers, like 200 billion stars or something? It's a huge amount of suns crammed into a thing that we can see from our little rock.
Yep. And we're getting closer.
And we're getting closer, and we're going to collide.
Yeah.
I've seen the animation. I know what happens next. Is that before or after our sun has done us in?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, those simulations are amazing, aren't they? I think the modelling of, these features, close to us in space is just amazing. Hats off to the scientists. Because it's so many questions, isn't it? Where we've come from, the formation of the solar system, all the wow stuff that is so mind-bendingly difficult to even comprehend, and yet here we are, able to look and observe and, try and very slowly piece the little bits of the jigsaw puzzle together to properly understand, it all, which is amazing, isn't it? Which is why it's even more so special to just be able to stand here and look at it. Look at these tiny points of light. They're all stars. They are all suns. And that really is a levelling, experience, isn't it? It's a super nice calmness to it. That when everything is going a bit crazy on the planet, you can look up and just go, yeah, that's billions of years of stuff right there, and that is a really nice thing to be able to enjoy, to just be able to come out and see it. Can I see the Milky Way as well? Or is that just
I
a
think
bit of cloud going on?
No, I think I think it's there. Yeah. So that's the edge of our galaxy. Yeah. Wow. Well, what an amazing show we're being treated to tonight. Well, not that it's a show, it's always here.
We've seen Starlink, we've seen Mercury, we've seen a shooting star, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we've seen our favourite planets all in one kind of window.
Yeah.
From wonderful South Downs.
Yeah.
What a treat.
What a treat. Thank you so much, Vicki. This really has been a great treat just to come along and share the stars and geek out and hear about your amazing career and work and joy.
I've loved it.
Childhood memories and sharing that then again with your daughters as well.
Oh, I know, it's great, isn't it? Space baby. Yeah.
Space baby.
Space baby. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to Embrace the Darkness, presented by me, Elinor Newman. The podcast is recorded and produced by the South Downs National Park Authority from the South Downs International Dark Sky Reserve. Music is by Orbit DoD, direct from Upbeat. To find out more about the South Downs International Dark Sky Reserve, including the best places to stargaze, go to www.southdowns.gov.uk/dark skies. If you have a comment, suggestion, or any other thoughts, we would love to hear them. You can contact us on embracethedarkness@southdowns.gov.uk. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a rating or a review. And until next time, embrace the darkness.